All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're glad to have you back. This is another one of my series of interviews with subject matter experts throughout the country. And today with me, I have Bob Dannenhold from Application Navigation. He hails from Seattle, Washington. I've known Bob for many, many years. So Bob, thank you for being with me today.
Oh, you're welcome, Cindy. Always fun to talk to you.
So, can you share with us a little bit about your background? How did you come to be working with creating application navigation and working with veterans?
Well, in terms of my background in working with veterans, it's very separate from my background in working with students in general. Educationally, my background is I'm a cognitive science major. I'm very much into how students learn and process information, or sometimes don't process information. But I got involved in working with vets through a friend about now almost 6 years ago. She's chief of internal medicine at Veterans Hospital, and she came across a vet back at that time from Iraq who was very bright and felt as though he needed to get involved with more education. And she knew that I was a college advisor and called me and asked if I would mind working with him. And I said, no, I'm always happy to help. And then I realized that I'm not a vet. And these vets have a language of their own. And so my learning curve had to be recreated to kind of come up to speed with this new population. And so I know that's a long answer to your question, but that's kind of how I got involved, was just volunteering to work with one. And then the word spreads among the vets themselves. And now I've worked with, I think, close to 90.
Oh, wow. So can you describe the work you do? Where does it start and where does it end? What kind of things do you do for your veterans?
Well, it's different with all of them because some of them come from different places in terms of their own heads, in terms of what they think they want. Um, the big job I have is helping them really figure out what's an important step for them to take and what's not an important step for them to take educationally. My experience so far, and this is just my experience, but 100% of my vets have had post-traumatic stress when they've come back. And I've learned a lot as I've gone along in this process. And one of the things I do now is try very hard to not get vets involved with going to college right off the bat. In fact, I tell them all it's my 6-month rule. They need to spend 6 months adjusting to home, this new culture, their families, their girlfriends, their wives, their partners. And sure, they're all broke when they come home, at least it seems that way. And so very often I think it works out better than going to school right away. And so we do a lot of work in helping them not just get a job, but maybe, again, like I do with their college educational programming, find ways to surround them with their strengths and their interests and see if we can kind of start laying a foundation for making their education more relevant once they start college again. So that's pretty much the foundation I try to lay with the vets, and giving them time to adjust and to grow into who they are going to be now that they're not a soldier anymore.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that they reach out to you while they're still active duty, before they actually become a veteran, or is it usually after they get back that you hear from them?
Well, it's a combination. I was just thinking about that last night. A lot of the vets will contact me through Skype once they're currently like in Afghanistan or wherever they happen to be. The Navy SEALs and the Rangers that I've worked with tend to be very organized and always contact me early. If not on their own, through their mothers. So, their mothers are a big part so far of those who have moms, making sure they're on top of what they're doing. Their moms typically also don't think they have any post-traumatic stress and that they're just wonderful and going to be fine and can do whatever they want to do. And that has not been the case either. They typically all have that adjustment period they need to go through. So, but some of them are here at home. Very often it's their girlfriends or wives. And again, I can't speak to working with women vets yet because I still have not worked with any. They've all been men.
Mm-hmm.
But the girlfriends, wives, and partners of the men that I've worked with have all been very helpful at sort of being a team player with me. I call them my partners in crime, and we really work together to kind of keep on top of what they need and what steps need to happen, whether that's in getting a job, doing job interviews, helping them restructure their language skills to not use quite so many abbreviations and army speak, so people that they do interview with know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And also just helping them understand that when people are asking them questions, they're not questioning them. They're just trying to gain information about how they would be a good fit, both, work-wise and educationally.
So it sounds like you're helping them with that transition from the military life into civilian life. Are you doing that on a case-by-case basis, or do you have groups that you run to help them with that? It's such a key thing, because when they're coming out of the military, they've been told when to eat, when to sleep, when to do all these things, and now all of a sudden they're out and it's like, okay, you're on your own. So
Well, I can tell you, since I know you work with high school kids too, the good part of it is when you're working with a vet and you're helping them do things, if you give them an assignment, it's usually done within an hour after they've left you, unlike high school. So that part is so much fun and it's so great. And it's usually done exactly as you've asked them to do. So that kind of goes along with what you're saying. But the adjustment to civilian life is difficult. And it depends. The ones that are talking to me on Skype and through, and they're still in active service, I don't do much with them other than give them a lot of facts and try to give them a lot of information. The ones that are home and I'm working with on Skype, maybe they're in Alabama or, New Jersey or Chicago, they will call and set up Skype appointments to talk about questions that have come up, usually things that their friends have brought up to them as concerns or their family, and they'll ask me my opinion. Typically, I'm telling them the same exact thing those people that are close to them are telling them, but I think because I'm basically a stranger, they listen to me. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, oh, okay, then I'm going to do this. And I know that because when I talk to those friends or they get in touch with me, they'll say, oh, thanks for telling him that. We've been telling him that for the last 6 weeks. And after he talked to you, he said, okay, this is what he's going to do. So a lot of it is just team playing with all of the important people that are in their lives, not discounting those people at all, and just providing a lot of support. They're not used to people so much caring about them either. I've learned they feel as though sometimes several of them, if not almost all of them, have felt when you try to be too sincere with them, they feel you're trying to manipulate them.
Uh-huh.
That, of course, is not what I'm trying to do. But they'll sometimes say, well, why would you even say that? Why do you care about me? Why do you care whether I'm able to do this or not? And that can go from anything from me just giving them advice on really cutting back on their pot smoking to making sure they make their appointments at the VA, and why I think that's important, because of the goals we've been setting together and the fact that we set timelines for those goals. So no, I don't run groups. I do it all on a one-on-one. They do have group opportunities through social work at the VA. They honestly don't, the ones I've worked with don't take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. But my work has been pretty much all one-on-one.
So I know you've been connecting with a lot of different universities and looking at the services for veterans at different colleges. So for my students, what are some things that they should be considering if they do end up counseling veterans to find that right fit? What questions should be they asking at the college level to find that?
Well, at the colleges, most of them now, because of federal funding and Obama's new concentration on vets, have a contact person. Mm-hmm. And what I find is it's not hard to find that contact person, and they're usually very, very very good. It's typically a woman. Only in about 3 or 4 cases do I know of males who are working in those positions. And they are very good at telling you what their school offers, what they don't offer, how their veteran center works, things that they're trying to improve with it, so you can prepare the vets ahead of time for what that might be. And it's very easy, really. And it's whether, even though yellow ribbon funding that pays for their education, most people think that's only for public universities. So many excellent, especially small private universities will, take these students or young vets in the same way. They don't have to pay any extra money. And so there's just lots of opportunities for them. It's just a matter of, like, Cindy, working with young people, finding the best fit and making sure that they're going to be in a college situation where they're safe, they're comfortable, people understand them, and can guide them on taking classes that are really appropriate for them, and not setting them up for academic failure by having them take a class in an area of weakness.
Good.
Very, very easy to work with the colleges. Everybody seems to be happy to help vets.
Yes, I've noticed that too. So I put a list for my class of the yellow ribbon schools, and actually have a list of how much money that the colleges offer, and it goes from unlimited down to like a couple $1,000s. And I think I put I didn't put down the ones that are that low, but it was amazing to see all the states and all the programs that are in that yellow ribbon category. So now I know, because I'm also working with veterans, and as you know, I'm kind of been following your lead and trying to do that here in California. And I've found that, especially, we have a Naval Air Station not too far, and they have a class that the veterans take that's supposed to help them with this transition, and it's available at all branches of the service. So the students that you work with, do they find they've done these classes, and were they helpful, or what do they say about these TAP classes that they take?
Well, the only classes I've heard them talk to me about are the ones that they take before they leave the service while they're still in Afghanistan. And I think it's a 6-hour class. And 6 hours to transition into the real world is back to the real world. And they have so many other things on their mind when they know they're getting out. And some of them are really just appropriate things they have on their mind, and some of them are, I can't wait to get home and buy a new truck, and they forget that they can't afford a new truck. So, there's an awful lot that is missing in the programs in the program that's offered before they leave. We do have a program at Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is the closest to Seattle where I'm living. But it seems to be hit and miss, and some of the vets that have attempted to go to it usually end up finding their buddies and doing other things, or going out to eat and not quite making the classes. And, there's a lot of, even though they were used to a lot of structure, there's a whole new kind of structure that you have to work on with them to get them to take advantage of those things, including going to the VA for their medical appointments. If you go to any VA parking lot, I'd be willing to say there's more vets who have told their friends they're there going to the VA for a medical appointment, but they're sitting in the car talking to friends, smoking pot, and not making it in the actual door of the VA. So it takes a lot of work on that level. And very little work on helping them get their forms filled out and all of those details that they're so good at. But that's the part that's the hardest. And when I work with other people who volunteer to work with vets, that seems to be what they come back and tell me is the most frustrating part, is that they think they'll meet with them in person or meet with them on Skype and feel that they really have their acts together, and they're very sophisticated and very professional and very goal-oriented, and they'll get the paperwork done, but a lot of the big picture stuff just seems to be like ether. It fades away into Never Never Land.
Yeah. So yeah, and that it all goes back to some of that whole transition and what they need to do to transition. So, um,
Absolutely.
now are they aware of their benefits, of their GI benefits and their education benefits, or are you helping to educate them on that as well?
Well, it's most of them actually now are in the last couple years. When I first started doing it, there seemed to be a lot of confusion about what forms they needed to fill out to make sure they were eligible, and those forms need to be filled out before they leave. I
Hmm.
honestly think that the Armed Forces is doing a much better job at that now because
Good.
they seem to really come back with the right forms filled out and their right disposition papers filled out. And then sometimes helping the colleges remember what they have to have and what they need to do is probably happening more than helping the vets with that now. I've been really pleased with how much they know now.
Good. Good.
The problem, and I don't know if this is appropriate to bring up, but I'm going to bring it up, are the for-profit colleges that really
Hmm.
advertise and go out after the vet and have them take basically all of their money, have them sign up for loans in addition to their yellow ribbon funding, and have them take a course on PowerPoint or something that's never going to get them a job. So, this is getting better again. This was worse 4 or 5 years ago. It was terrible. And now it's
Hmm.
much, much more improved.
Yeah, and I've heard that, and I actually have. My daughter has a close friend who was in the military, and that's something he was very much aware of. So there've been a lot happening in that regard, but that's a very important thing for us as counselors. So, any other parting words of advice for counselors? We have people who are from all over the world that are working with students, and some that are at schools, high schools, both public and private. So they may never work with a veteran per se, but it's all around us. I mean, we're going to have many more veterans coming back in the next few years. I don't know what the numbers are, but any other words of advice or thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I think, I would really ask people to think whether they're working in a public school, a private school, an independent counselor, or they're just a community member who wants to be out there to help kids with the college process, to consider volunteering and taking on even one vet in their
Mm-hmm.
community. Um, it really is so helpful to them. And I think, as you know, Cindy, one of my goals is to try to, really have a toolbox that people can use to make this happen for vets. And
Mm-hmm.
so sort of a formula that people can follow. And my goal is to have that out by the summer and made available for people to use. It would be
Well,
free.
fabulous.
I think that, there's only a couple of us doing this around the country. And,
Mm-hmm.
there is a certification process going on now, as you know, that will happen next time in Georgia.
Yep.
This
I'm going.
meeting. I'm
I'm
going
going.
to. I'll be
Are
there
you?
with you.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Good, good, good.
So this is a new, much more updated program than they had started out, that ACE had started out with. So I'll be there
Mhm.
too. And I think that that's what I'm hoping to use as the final foundation to have information to share with people around the country. And when I go and to a different conference, wherever it is, I try to always schedule a meeting in a local high school. And so far, cross my fingers, it doesn't go away. I always get at least two counselors who are willing to say, yeah, I'll take on a vet. If you hear of someone
Oh,
in my town, please have them call me.
that's
So I think
fabulous.
that's the way we're going to get it moving.
I agree. I totally agree. And anything that we can do or I can pass on to my class, you let me know and we'll do that. So if they have questions, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is probably through email.
Mm-hmm.
And the best email to get me actually on right away is my collegeology email, which is RD for Robert Dannenhold, RD at collegeology.com. That's COLLEGEOLOGY.com.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
And I'll post that too. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And good, I'm glad I get to see you in Georgia. That'll be great because that's coming
Well,
up.
we'll have fun. Well, you
All right.
take good care. Thank you,
All right.
Cindy.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.